G'day and welcome to another massive edition of the BFNL Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at McDonald's. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. Thanks for jumping on board this week.
Thanks for having me. Last minute stand-in, so I had to do a little bit more research than I expected this morning, but it's all good.
You got subbed in. We got one of the experts on board who's been all over it, and I know I think you're heading to a game this weekend as well. So this is just to prep you up and prep everyone else up for what's going to be happening this week.
It is. I've been talking about heading out to Bacchus Marsh for a while there, and I was planning to go round one against Darley, but a guy by the name of Dane Swan was playing for West Meadows, so I sort of had to head to that one. But yeah, planning to head up this week and see Bacchus Marsh and Sunbury Lions, so hopefully a good match up there.
Oh, fantastic. And speaking of Bacchus Marsh, they come into this game in some roaring form. They had a really good win over Redan on the weekend by over 10 goals. Jay Gowan on fire with 6.
It is. Look, obviously there was 3 good quarters for Bacchus Marsh. They absolutely dominated those first 3 quarters, and we're looking at a 100-point win. But then Redan won that last quarter, so there is some confidence there for the Lions. Obviously haven't won a match this season, but to take a quarter off the top side would have been pleasing for them. Probably not so pleasing for Bacchus Marsh. I know, having previously spoke to Trav out there, he said their biggest thing has been consistency. They've had moments in games, and they'll play good for 2-3 quarters, but then they let a quarter slip, and they did the same thing there. But obviously you mentioned Jake Owen. He's kicked 17 in the last 3 weeks, and he's started to hit some form. He was named best on ground this week, and I know Trav said he thought he was best on ground the previous week as well, so he's starting to really have an impact having come across. He has had that experience at the higher level, obviously playing PFL, and I know he played TAC Cup as well a number of years back, but he sort of provides that link between the forward and the back and the defence, so he can kick those goals, but he can also go back as well and play across that. So obviously he's been a key, and I think another key for them has been Daniel Burton.
Yeah,
obviously in the ruck there, he was the form ruckman in 2016 along with Kovacevic from Sunbury Lions, and in that grand final Burton absolutely dominated with no cover playing. So we're starting to see Daniel get back to the form that we saw the last few years, and he's absolutely dominated in the ruck, and that provides a vital first use of the ball for the Cobras.
And he plays like a veteran as well, Berto, but he's only in his mid-20s, so he's still, his best football is still ahead of him.
He is. Obviously he played I think TAC Cup, he played VFL as well, and that sort of got ruined by injuries. I know he's a keen basketballer. He's umpired me a few times in basketball as well. So
what's he like as an umpire?
Yeah, he's a good umpire out there, and we used to have a laugh at him. We'd talk out at basketball as well, so obviously that. But yeah, he's sort of shown that he is a key to them, and he can play forward as well, and has been really vital for the Cobras this season.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll keep that form going, and as for the Lions, hopefully they can bounce back. A great match between Lake Windaree and Melton. The Bloods got off to a hot start, but then fell away.
Obviously, yeah, Melton had 10 scoring shots in that first quarter, and then they only had 10 for the rest of the game. So obviously it was a brilliant start there, but then they slipped away, and we're sort of starting to see Melton. They're playing well against some of these better sides for a quarter, for a half, but then they can't maintain the momentum. Obviously, the previous round against Bacchus Marsh, they were good probably for a quarter and a half, and then they sort of struggled after that, and the Cobras smashed them. And then this time you've obviously got Lake Windaree's got them in the second half, and quite dominant performance there. Are we sort of seeing that Melton is a middle of the road table? Obviously they had a couple of good wins early on. The win against Darley was probably the big one there, but are we sort of starting to see where they sit? Yeah,
just a bit of a mid-season slump there for the Bloods. I think they've lost 4 of their last 5 or something to that effect. And for the Lakers, the win's fantastic for them, but as we'll discuss later on in the week, they've also got another big challenge that sort of faces them, because their pattern this year has sort of been win-loss, and they haven't really built that consistency. So for them to get back on the winners list gives them a little bit of confidence. But the question for them is how they back up after that effort.
It is, and obviously if you want to play finals, you have to be winning 2-3 weeks in a row. You can't go win-loss. It's not going to get you a premiership. So we've seen Lakers have been one of the top sides the last few years, and they've still got a lot of that list there. So I'd expect them, obviously they've got a tough challenge this week coming up with North Ballarat City, but I'd still expect them to continue that consistent form in the next few weeks.
Yeah, fingers crossed they can keep blazing away. And great to see Cal McKay have his best outing for the Lakers. He kicked 6 goals. Sebas took down Melton South. Sebas now kept their finals hopes alive, but we know with Melton South they didn't have the fairy tale with Heath Pritchard taking over as coach and winning in his first game.
Obviously, yeah, it was a massive week out there at Melton South. I don't know whether you guys touched on it last week.
Yeah, we did briefly.
Well, obviously, yeah, and I spoke to Heath, and Heath's well known in this local area. I've dealt with him previously as Darley cricket coach, but as we know, he's also on the AFL commission. He's the president out there at Amesbury, and he's also been the runner for Port Melbourne in the VFL as well. So for Heath, he's come in and said it's not going to happen straight away, and he knows that. It is going to take a little bit of time, and it's about getting this side, obviously see what they can do the next 10 weeks and then reassess come the end of the season. You look at that, Melton South didn't kick a goal in the first half, so it's always going to be tough. They still don't have Fev, and he's probably still another 2-3 weeks away as he still battles that Achilles issue, so that always does hurt them down forward. But obviously it was a disappointing performance from the Panthers. The two sides both had inaccurate kicking as well, but Sebastopol was really well and clearly the best team in the day.
Toby Hutt kicking a lazy 6 out of 9. You'll happily take that, wouldn't you, if you're a gun forward?
Oh, you'd take that. I think any forward take 6 out of 9 any day of the week.
Yeah.
So obviously,
especially in a winning side too.
Yeah, you get that. And obviously we're starting to see Sebastopol is a team that's not going to go away. They keep getting the wins on the board. Obviously Melton South isn't the strongest opposition, but they did beat Dartley a few weeks ago. So we are starting to see the improvements from Sebastopol that we've been knowing is going to be coming the last 2-3 years. We're starting to see that reflect on the scoreboard, and they're starting to get a few more wins.
Their last month has been absolutely outstanding. The next game, which was the match of the round for our competition, and on paper we've just delivered on all accounts. East Point taking down North Ballarat City by 29 points. I think the interesting stat here that I've sort of bandied around this week is that East Point led North Ballarat City by 1 point at three-quarter time. In the A-grade netball, East Point led North Ballarat City by 1 goal at three-quarter time, and then both sides ended up prevailing. So
well, I was going to say East Point doesn't like to do things easily. Besides round 1 when they smashed Ballarat, all their matches have been between that 4 and 5 goal margins. So they haven't been able to blow a team out of the water, but they've been able to get the job done every single time they've been tested, and that's probably been the strength of East Point this season. Obviously, they did lose to Bacchus Marsh, who is the top side, which you're not going to, but they were still in that match.
Yeah, there was only I think 4 goals of margin at the end.
Exactly, they were still in that match, and that's what we're starting to see with East Point. They're a team that will be in every single match they play, and they keep getting over the line for most of them. So you obviously see that. You've got Jordan Johnston kicked 4 goals, was the key down there up forward. But yeah, it was a 5-goal-to-1 final quarter that proved the difference. Yeah,
certainly right there. Great effort there, and City, they're gun forward. Will Young has been on fire in recent weeks, probably been the best forward at AFL Goldfields in terms of the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks. He only kicked 1 goal on the weekend, so the ruse sort of proved that if you can keep him quiet, then you can get closer to getting a win.
Exactly, and you look at it, they've lost to a side that is in the top 4 as well, so they've lost to a side that is around the mark, and they're showing they aren't too far away, and they have made big inroads this year, probably after a disappointing season for them last season.
I'd like to see these two sides maybe finish in the top 4. It'll show the improvement of both, and just a bit of a change up in the competition as well. They're certainly showing some great form. And the final game, which I don't think anyone saw this coming unless you're over at Ballarat, but the Swans took down the Sunbury Lions by nearly 40 points.
It is. Sunbury's had a couple of losses, and 2 losses you probably wouldn't have expected. So they've beaten all the other sides, all the close matches, all the sides that towards the top, but then they've had a couple of shock losses. I think we're starting to see the Lions, their depth a little bit. You look at it, they had Jaden Eales out, Nathan Wood, Mitch Conn, Aaron Christensen. You've got their guns out of that side, and when you're missing those guys, it doesn't seem like they've been able to replace them, and that's where we might start to see with Sunbury where they sort of sit, how they go with depth. If they've got players missing, can they cover them? And that was probably one concern they probably had a little bit at the start of the season. And
for Ballarat to win in the circumstances they did, we know they were riding the high of Drew Petrie getting them over the line against Redan the previous week, a side that hadn't won a game, but to be able to take that confidence onto the weekend against a premier side in the competition, that is amazing.
It is. They've now got two wins in a row, and that's confidence. So obviously they are building, and you look, Shane Hutchison was best on ground on the weekend, so one of their experienced guys leading from the front, and you've got that there. So whether they've got the 2, whether they can keep that going. Obviously they have got Darley this week, so they've got another big challenge coming up, but it looks like these challenges aren't daunting them at the moment.
Exactly. They're going with a full lot of confidence, as we'll be going on with a full lot of confidence as the rest of the week unfolds. Tara, thanks so much for jumping in the hot seat, and we look forward to joining you later on the week.
Thanks for having me.